everyone, I'm Raven, and in today's video I want to talk to you about different types of divination systems. So the first thing on my list are tarot cards. Tarot is the most well-known form of divination in the world. So there are different types of tarot systems that you can choose from, but the most common is Rider-Waite Tarot. Rider-Waite Tarot is the most popular and widely used tarot card deck in the entire world. The cards were designed by Pamela Colman Smith, and the deck was published 113 years ago by the Rider Company in England. So this is the original Rider-Waite. The one that I own is a different edition, and you can find different editions of this deck. I like this one because green is my favorite color and the cards have a beautiful back. I like the quality of this deck, the size, and the fact that it doesn't have borders. Most of the tarot decks that you can find today are based on this system, which means that if you can read this deck, you can read other decks as well, because although the images may change in other decks, the meaning stays the same. Why do we choose to work with other decks? It's because every tarot deck has its own personality, and with some decks you will connect better than with others. However, it's always best if you learn how to read the Rider-Waite before you start working with other decks. I will not get into too much detail on how to do tarot readings just because it's a very large topic and I might need to make a separate video about this topic. So within tarot, there are two types of cards. The major arcana, which are 22 archetype-based cards. Think of these cards as overall themes of a situation. So the major arcana starts with the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress, the Emperor, the Hierophant, the Lovers, the Chariot, Strength, the Hermit, Wheel of Fortune, Justice, the Hanged Man, Death, Temperance, the Devil, the Tower, the Star, the Moon, the Sun, Judgment, and the World. Then you have the minor arcana, which are 56 cards and are divided in 4 suits. Cups, that represent the element water. Cups talk about emotions in situations. Wands, that represent the element fire and talk about passion and inspiration. Pentacles, that represent the element earth and they talk about material world such as jobs, money, finances, and anything material. And then you have swords, that represent the element air and talk about mental states and intellect. In each group you have 10 cards that represent details and day-to-day happenings in a situation. And the 4 court cards, which represent people, these are the king, the queen, the knight, and page. So the way you do a tarot reading is to choose a spread. You can draw 1 card when you need a message or to answer yes or no questions. You can do 3-card spread, past, present, and future. Or you can do more complicated spreads, and the most used one is the Celtic Cross. It depends on your preferences and how good you can read tarot cards. If you are just starting out to learn, you can start with 1 card and slowly do 3-card reading and try to connect them with each other. So the next on my list are oracle cards. And this one I got from the Witch's box, and I have no idea what to do with this one because I don't really connect with this deck for some reason. So oracle cards don't have a predetermined number of cards or arrangements. It depends on the person who's creating the deck. It also don't have a system in place. And the way that I would use oracle cards is by drawing 1 card at the beginning of the day to get a message or at the end of the day. I will also draw a card after I do a tarot reading for an extra message. You can also pick a card after you had a dream and meditate with this card for a better understanding of your dream. So for example, let's say that you had a dream about an animal and you have the Spirit Animal Oracle deck. You can take the card of that animal that you dreamed of and meditate with this card to find the message from your dream that this animal is trying to give you. Next on my list are runes. So runes were used to write different Germanic languages before the adoption of the Latin alphabet. So there are three main runic systems that are used today, and these are Elder Fullerk that has 24 runes, Fullerk that has 29 runes, and Younger Fullerk that has 16 runes. Runes can be carved in wood, stone, bones, resin, glass, and so on. So runes can be used to represent concepts after which they are named. The most common system used today for divination is Elder Fullerk. It's really worth learning the history of runes just because it's really interesting and magical if you're interested to learn more about the runes. And these are my sets of runes. I have black agate runes. So just like with tarot cards, it's best if you can cleanse your runes after you purchase them. And after cleansing, people used to charge the runes with their own energy. Some people choose to meditate with each rune, and others choose to use tag marks or such as blood or saliva in painting, and they used to paint the runes. And the reason for that is to bring them more close to you and to get more accurate readings. So runes are used in many different things, but today we are going to focus on divination. So you can start from a simple rune divination method and from there go to more complex ones. The more you practice, the more you're going to feel based on your intuition what type of divination you need. One way of doing it is by holding your bag of runes. Think about your question. You are going to want to shake the bag or move your stones around with your hands. Just like with your tarot, you want to keep thinking about your question. Then you want to reach a rune from your bag and here is your answer. If you want a more complex answer, you can pick more runes. And just like with tarot, you want to connect them with each other, and this takes time and practice. The ones that are blank, you are going to put aside. You also can pull 3 runes, past, present, and future. You can cast your runes on a surface and read them as it is. Some people have some type of maps with past, present, and future, or use circles, and whatever falls inside, they will read those. There are many other ways, but because it's not a video only about runes, I will have to make a separate one where I can dive more deep into the subject. So the next type of divination system on my list are pendulums. You can find pendulums that are made out of crystals, but also other types of materials such as glass and different types of metals and so on. So of course, you want to cleanse your pendulum after you purchased it. And one way of using a pendulum is by first asking the pendulum which one is yes and which one is no. So when you are holding your pendulum, you want to avoid moving your arm as much as you can. Then you want to calm your mind and focus the question towards the pendulum. So you want to ask your pendulum which one is yes. This might take time, but eventually you will get an answer. So it will start to move. So this one is yes. You want to start all over again. Then you are going to ask your pendulum which one is no. And the circle is going to be no. Next, you want to again focus your question towards your pendulum. So let's say, is today going to be a productive day for me? And you want to wait, trying not to move your hand. So yes, it is going to be a productive day for me. And this is one way of using your pendulum. So the way a pendulum works is by giving you answers from your own subconscious mind. We are more wiser than we think we are, and most of the time we already know the answer, but it's not in our conscious mind, but in our subconscious mind. And by asking questions to your pendulum, you are going to tap deep inside your subconscious mind, and you are going to make subconsciously movements with your hand, and those are going to be your answers. You can also use your pendulum to communicate with your spirit guides or your deities. Some people choose to use pendulum boards as well. Mine is the one that I'm selling as a PDF, and I printed this one out as a test, or I wanted to frame it, but it ended up being too big, so I left it this way. And the way you want to use a pendulum board is by placing your pendulum in the middle of your board. You are going to want to ask your question and wait for your answer, and the pendulum is going to move towards your answer. And you can choose to use simple ones like this one that has just yes, no, perhaps, and unknown, but you can also find more complex ones that have also numbers, the alphabet, years, months, Sabbats, and so on. The last thing on my list is tea or coffee readings. I don't do coffee or tea readings myself just because I tend to work more with tarot, but I have been giving readings from other practitioners, and I think that this is something that I would like to study more about. So one way of doing a coffee reading is by drinking a cup of coffee. After you finish drinking your cup, while you are thinking about your question or your intention, you want to take your cup and place a plate on top of your cup and then turn it over. You want to wait until your cup is cooled, and when you take it off, you look inside your cup and you are going to do your reading. And how do you do a tea leaf reading? When you finish off a cup of loose tea, leaves often line the sides and base of the cup. The idea behind of tea reading is while it's drinking, a person's movement affects the leaves, swirling around so that when they settle, the shapes are unique to them. It is then up to the reader to interpret these shapes. So that's it for this video. As always, I thank each and every one of you who made it this far. I hope you found this video useful. I hope you learned something new today. If you have any video ideas, you can comment down below. I would be happy to read them. And I'll see you in my next one. Pentacles that represent the element Earth. Really magical and beautiful if you are interested in learning more. I think that it's worth learning the history of runes just because it's really interesting. So when you are holding your pendulum, I forgot that I put my pendulum on my lap, and I just got up and I broke my pendulum. It's such a pretty pendulum. I wanna cry right now. Oh.